Hello, welcome to Redmen TV. My name's Dan Clubb. I'm here with Chloe Bloxham, and we're here to talk about the fact that all Premier League matches have officially been cancelled for the weekend. We're going to look at it from a Liverpool perspective, obviously, and what it means for us and the wider season, moreover, really, from our point of view. But first, we're going to quickly talk through the timeline of events and the facts as we know them. So earlier on today, Martin Ziegler from The Times tweeted that it was up to individual sporting events and organisations really to decide for themselves what happened when it comes to their events over the weekend and the course of the next few days. And thereafter, there's been a steady stream of news, if you like, regarding different sporting events, and then the Premier League themselves came out with their own statement, and it reads as such: at a meeting this morning, Premier League clubs paid tribute to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II to honour her extraordinary life and contributions to the nation, and as a mark of respect, this weekend's Premier League match round will be postponed, including Monday evening's game. Further updates regarding Premier League fixtures during the period of mourning will be provided in due course. So that's where we are. Now, Chloe, I'll bring you in on this. What do you believe that means from a Liverpool perspective? Obviously, our game with Wolves is meant to go ahead at Anfield this Saturday. Where do you think that leaves us?
It leaves us in uncertainty, really, of when we're going to fit these games in, but also uncertainty in terms of we don't know what happens midweek with the Champions League games. We then don't know what happens next weekend, because I think it's a 10-day, and on the 9th day you have a funeral, I think it is. So it leaves us with not knowing what happens in the next week and a half, which is big because of the World Cup that ultimately comes very soon, and there's already a lot of games there that they're trying to fit in. Now there's potentially 2 to 3 games. There's definitely one game that'll have to be rescheduled somewhere. So from a Liverpool perspective, it's more a case of where do we fit those games in, and also what does it look like for this Liverpool side, because obviously we heard with Naby Keita recently that he, from Guinea as manager, expects them to be back for the international break. Did the Reds get this week off? Well, the next weekend off, and then it's international break. Yeah. And can that help players get back? Or is it a case of, it's just uncertainty? Will we actually be playing at some point? We need a bit more clarification. Yeah. And we need more clarification, not just what happened this weekend, but also midweek and next weekend as well.
Yeah,
it's very important for people who do travel to football games to know.
Yeah, well, that's the point I was going to make next, really. I mean, we're fully aware of the situation and why it's obviously had to happen this weekend. Like, we're on board with that, but at the same time, it obviously is somewhat of a late decision, and obviously it's not ideal in terms of travel. And you mentioned there, we're due to play Ajax on Tuesday. Which means obviously travelling fans coming over from Holland to Liverpool for that game. And as things stand, that game, as far as we're aware, is due to go ahead, but that could change at any moment, it feels like. So where do you think, because obviously you mentioned the World Cup there, Liverpool, this season was already condensed, and there isn't much sort of manoeuvre around where these fixtures are going to be played. So do you envisage there being any sort of alterations? Will these be midweek fixtures further down the line, perhaps, do you think? Or do you think they'll have to find a free weekend? Will rest weekends will they be used to play matches? What do you think?
I genuinely don't know, because I don't know what the fixture looks like in terms of, we obviously, before the World Cup starts, I think we get all our group stages done in the Champions League. And I know I can see some people in the comments saying that, Champions League games will go ahead. But obviously yesterday, which was Thursday, UEFA, it seemed like Manchester United, specifically maybe West Ham, wanted the games to be postponed. But UEFA said basically, no, it's too late. We've got to go ahead with them. With what do they do now in terms of, it's obviously Tuesday that the Reds play. There's more time in between to, it's not just breaking news several hours before kickoff. They have time to make a decision on that. Yeah. But it's also a case of, we've got a World Cup which is being cramped into the middle of a season. I don't know where it leaves us, genuinely. You look at the Champions League final, that's on the 10th, I want to say, of June. Yeah. That is mad to think of a Champions League final in June on the 10th. Usually it's the 1st. I think we played against Spurs in the final. is that going to get pushed back because we can't fit the games in? Or, I mean, this international break, does it have to go ahead? Is that a thing?
That is the thing. I'm just looking here at some of the fixtures. So obviously, like you say, we're due to face Ajax on Tuesday, which is obviously after the Wolves game, which we now know is not going ahead. So we're due to face Ajax, and then we've obviously got Chelsea in the Premier League. Those two games, you'd have to imagine, would be sort of in doubt, given what's
especially
going on.
the Chelsea one, I think, because
100%, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting point in terms of the Champions League, because obviously it's a European competition, but given the fact that obviously we are at home, had it been away in Holland, it could have been a different scenario, who knows, but given the fact that that game is obviously supposed to take place at Anfield, you'd have to imagine that that's also in danger at the moment, but who knows. And then after that, you're right, it's a seriously tight schedule because of the World Cup, and obviously where these games get, we were already sort of concerned about the fitness levels of some of the side and how we were going to fit these games in, and it's
we're
chaos
already
after
worried
that.
for like you see loads of managers mentioning the welfare of footballers, and it was already, everyone was like, as if you're having a World Cup in the middle of a season, which is so intense. And now with obviously fixtures being postponed, it is a struggle to find out where we're going to play them. Is the international break friendlies, or is it qualifiers for something? Is it that Nations League thing? What is it?
Yeah, I think it is qualifiers this time around.
It's qualifiers, so they
like
can't be changed, can they?
No, and it's the last sort of chance, obviously, before the World Cup goes ahead for internationals to meet. The one thing I would say on this is it's not alien. This sort of situation now isn't alien to football because of obviously what we went through with the COVID pandemic. So Liverpool will have prepared for this game of football quite clearly. We're fully aware of that. And the fact it's now been postponed at relatively late notice shouldn't really have too much of an impact. But just in terms of individual players, from a Liverpool perspective, we've obviously seen Thiago come back this week. Henderson's a matter of weeks away. Jota's come back. You mentioned Naby Keita earlier. Is there a chance then that if we do, obviously this game this weekend's called off as we know, and after that who knows, is there a chance that Liverpool could welcome back some more players solely from a footballing perspective here? Yeah,
from a football perspective, yes, because I think if you looked at this weekend, Thiago would probably play 60 minutes, whether that's from the off or whether he comes on for the last 30, I don't know. Giving him an extra week and giving Liverpool a week to recover from a 4-1 thumping where we've possibly had the worst game under Jurgen Klopp that we've ever had. To get footballing basis of it means that we've got an entire week to either prepare for the Ajax game, and then depending on what happens with Ajax, I don't know whether it'll go ahead or not, because it is in the UK, like you mentioned. If it was in Netherlands, then it 100%
there's more
would
chance,
have
of course.
And it all depends on, because this seemed like it was an individual standpoint from the Premier League, I'm assuming, because from statements it basically said there is no obligation to stop sports. Where we're now in a situation where the individual FA and everyone have chosen not to. I don't see UEFA doing that, but it could be a case of they don't have a choice maybe if the Premier League side say something about it. But yeah, from a totally footballing perspective side, in some way, it might help Liverpool get players back because they'll have longer to recover. And also tactically and mentally, it might give a refreshing, an entire week break to prepare for a football game. We don't really get that often now. No, we don't. And yeah, you're right. It could well be a needed break, really, from a Liverpool perspective, because obviously form hasn't been as we'd have liked whatsoever. And we were kind of going time and time again, and we have got a lot of players out, obviously injured, and with just people coming back from injuries as well, so it could give them a little bit more time to be ready for the next game, which, like I said earlier, as things stand, is due to be against Ajax on Tuesday night, but who knows what will happen with that fixture or the Chelsea game the weekend after as well. But yeah, like I say, it's an interesting time. Who really knows what will happen next? Sorry, Chloe, go on. I think it's important to and you might be able to get it up to show them. It's on the Guardian website. The Premier League and EFL, all games have been cancelled off this weekend. Obviously, we knew the Friday night kickoffs in the EFL was already cancelled. They said that last night, I think. But apparently, cricket tests and Wentworth golf is expected to be back on Saturday. The Rugby League is also poised to go ahead, including playoffs. Rugby is not really my sport. I don't know when those games, it doesn't say a definitive date of when those are, but cricket test and Wentworth golf supposed to be back on Saturday. So it does show that it's clearly an individual, it's an individual choice for the Premier League to say, no, out of respect, we're not doing it, where these other ones have maybe done it for a day. I think the golf are not playing today, but they are resuming tomorrow. So it was the Premier League who have decided, and I assume that then the obviously statement that just because the situation doesn't mean all football needs to be cancelled. It's not. You can do it individually off your own back, and it's mad to see that some sports have said, no, we'll give it a day and a half, and we'll come back, and others have just gave the entire weekend off.
Which makes you think, I mean, who knows, you preempting sort of huge organisations, but it does make you think that given sort of the proximity of what's happened, they've decided to call this weekend's games off, which is obviously what's happened now. They've decided to call this weekend's games off because it was so close and it would have felt wrong to continue regardless. But it does make you wonder whether decisions further down the line, if it is a sport by sport basis, like you say, they might go, okay, we can carry on now, because it's hard to sort of balance it. It's hard to bring in the fact that, listen, it's a really tight schedule. Where are we going to fit these games in? Compared to, it's almost like a face-off compared to what's happened. It's a difficult one, but there will have to be decisions made further down the line. And even this game on its own now, just solely looking at this Wolves fixture, like, it's been postponed slightly over 24 hours away. It's far from ideal from anyone's point of view in terms of travelling fans. We mentioned the Ajax fans. Even the Wolves fans have got in a similar boat. Like, they would have had plans to come over. We spoke upstairs about Liverpool fans that would be looking to get over in various guises, whether it be from America, Ireland, whatever it may be. There's a lot of money spent on coming to watch football, and listen, it's out of anyone's control. We're fully aware of that, but there are big decisions to be made for this one. They've made it. Ajax the same, Chelsea the same thereafter, and these games will have to be slotted into the calendar somewhere. Where that is,
no idea.
I've looked through the fixtures there again, and I can't see where they play these games. Like, I'm really struggling. So obviously, like I said, we played Chelsea. I've gone way beyond. That's how far down I've gone. So I'll take us back now, because I've gone so far. Because obviously we return sort of after the World Cup, and we're straight into the Christmas schedule, which is historically chaotic, as we well know. You don't fit them in anywhere around there. So I'm just scrolling back up now to this off. So there we go. There's the Chelsea fixture, and then we're obviously supposed to play Brighton at home, but then we're Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesday again, and it's absolutely... It's non-stop. It's non-stop. It's non-stop.
I've just searched, I saw some comments there about the UEFA. I didn't see a statement from them, so I've gone on the Express, and it says British clubs set for Champions League decision after obviously the situation that's happened. UEFA are to make a statement. British clubs may be allowed to rearrange their upcoming Champions League matches.
There you go.
Which also means that could be another game. And obviously, I think UEFA is still yet to make a statement about it, so we don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was put at 10 to 7 this morning from the Express.
But again, that's almost special dispensation. So like we said earlier, it's a case of British clubs, Liverpool being one of which, are allowed to make their own decision on that sort of thing, which is absolutely the right call, and it's absolutely fair enough. But it does mean that were we to miss Tuesday's game, and in it, realistically, there's a very strong chance that Chelsea next weekend, which obviously is Stamford Bridge, there's a very good chance that doesn't go ahead. All of a sudden, it's similar to, I referenced the COVID situation earlier, whereby you might miss 10 games of football. We've seen that 10 days rather, and 3 games of football. We've seen that numerous times now. There is a world whereby Liverpool do miss their next 3 fixtures, including the Wolves game, which we now know about. So again, I mean, do you think... We spoke about sort of the marginal benefit that might be for Liverpool here because of where they're at, mentally, and where they're at physically right now. But do you think that will be almost lost if all 3 games were postponed and we did have to cram them in further down the line?
Well, yeah, it's obviously going to be a problem because it's already 2 to 3 games a week at this moment. It's going to be that anyway after the World Cup, because the Champions League is still a thing and because we play so many games. Add to that the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup fixtures as well if you get deep into the tournament. And that 2-legged thing at Wembley, my way, I don't understand that still, but that's there as well. So, and the semi-finals at Wembley for one of them as well, which it just makes no sense to me either.
Yeah.
But there's that. It is a worry in terms of what may in some way benefit you now could actually be a cause of your downfall, because who knows where Liverpool will be. It wouldn't surprise me if this Liverpool side went on a run of 14 wins on the bounce, because we've done it before. If we've got the mentality, if we can regroup, we can do it again under Jurgen Klopp. Fully believe in that. But then if 14 games in and you're getting tired and you're constantly winning, and then you've got to add these other slots in, it can break you. You might have to put out weaker sides, which then means you might lose points along the way. You just don't know what it's going to do. Once again, it's another case of uncertainty. It's another case of cramming in football games. But the decision has been made, and there's nothing you can do about it. You've just got to go with it and see what happens. But I think it's a bit... the UEFA one, I think, is mental, because obviously we have another... we have Rangers in our group as well, which I'm assuming they'd cancel their game. So, and we obviously play Ajax, so the other fixture. What it means for the British sides, because what does it mean for the rest of them? Can they all play? And like, how is that
imagine,
fair?
I'd imagine other fixtures would go ahead as planned.
Because then somewhere later on down the tournament, they'll have an extra week and they might be facing you that they've had. I don't get it. I think they should keep it borderline one way or the other, because if someone ends up, if it's given a choice and the English clubs choose not to play, but there is the odd fixture where it's two foreign clubs playing each other, if they can play that game now and then have a break where we're trying to cram in another 2 games, it could cost us somewhere. Yeah,
there's a comment here from a Richard Lewis just saying the Premier League games could be played if both teams go out of the cup competitions, because then weekends then become 3 for 2. That's a very plausible and good point, actually. But yeah, it's an ever moving situation right now, quite frankly, particularly regarding the games to come. But yeah, like I say, we just tried to bring you some sort of Liverpool perspective to the news and what it means for us, because obviously the Premier League game that was meant to go ahead against Wolves at Anfield has been postponed. When that gets played, who knows right now? It's a little bit of a lottery. And what happened regarding the Ajax fixture at Anfield and obviously Chelsea at Stamford Bridge is also unknown right now. But yeah, Chloe, thanks for joining us. Anything else to add before we head off?
No, not really. Just it's going to seem like a pre-season, isn't it, for this weekend with no football?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah,
I don't know what I'm going to do with myself the next 2 days.
Formula One is what you're going to do.
I'm going to watch Formula One. Maybe a bit of NFL on the Sunday as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Anyway, like I say, thanks for joining us. We tried to bring you some sort of Liverpool perspective to the situation. We understand the magnitude of it, but yeah, there we go. That'll be all for now. Please stay tuned to anything else we may have for you. Content coming up over the next few days. Not much Wolves related now, as you can imagine, but yeah, thanks for joining us and take care.
Get closer to Liverpool Football Club and the magnificent city of Liverpool over on Redmen Plus, our Liverpool streaming service. Documentaries, features, more content from the Redmen studio, and you can learn deep and in-depth knowledge from experts, journalists, and cultural features going to get you closer to the football club that we all love. Head to redmenplus.com.